Hello. Thanks for choosing to watch this presentation. I hope you enjoy it. Hope you learned something. We're going to be talking about somatic experiencing. Personal note, I experienced somatic experiencing. It helped me with some trauma in the past. It helps me in daily life now. I really recommend it for everybody. I think it's for everybody. If you're a human, you have this innate physiological process to help you. And that's what somatic experience is, tapping into that. So let's get into it. Here's the founder, Peter Levine. He was inspired by a prophetic dream. I won't go into the details, but essentially the dream was study life energy. And so how could you deny that? He was like, okay. He was also studying nature at the time as a biophysicist. And he was fascinated that uh, prey are under constant stress of potential death being eaten, but they don't have these long-term effects of trauma. And then he's observing that this fight, flight, or freeze response, where sometimes they would freeze and fall over and just, once the predator's gone, they just kind of get up and just shake it, like violently, just kind of shaking it off. And so he decided to study that. We'll get more into what that really means. He also was inspired, of course, by his own need to heal. So, trauma is an unresolved impact from an event. A burdened nervous system is unhealthy. So it's that unresolved impact. It's like this weight that you got. And then we have this powerful drive to complete and heal trauma. You can see it in people that maybe aren't doing it efficiently, but they keep running into the same scenario that kind of represents a traumatic event. It's like getting triggered over and over again. Well, it's really just a drive as humans to just get this thing healed, get this released. And this is where somatic experiencing comes in. There is a natural physiological process to heal trauma. Here's some central tenets. So, yeah, the traumatic event is not what causes the long-lasting effects of trauma. It's that blockage. It's what we hold inside as humans in the absence of an empathetic witness. So you get in a car crash, traumatic event. If you don't like sit with those feelings or deal with it in that moment, you're carrying it with you, just kind of moving on in autopilot, you're going to carry that with you, and that's where the long lasting effects will come in. Well, change occurs by releasing that blocked energy. This is from the Somatic Experiencing website. Healing isn't about reclaiming memories or changing our thoughts and beliefs about how we feel. It's about exploring the sensations that lie underneath our feelings and beliefs, as well as our habitual behavior patterns. So that's a main tenet of this theory, is that for somatic experiencing, it's more about the sensations and feelings and not necessarily about the thoughts. Some goals: diffuse the long-lasting trauma, release that energy, and then from there, help the client reintegrate the mind with the body to allow aliveness and flow. Kind of training them, because I mean, it's a broken world, so there might be some more traumatic events along the way. Well, if you're trained in this somatic experiencing, you can deal with these traumatic events right then and there, shake them off in a way, move on. So here's a process of it. The overview is it's a bottom up processing. A top down processing would be focusing on the thoughts and beliefs, but bottom up processing is going into the body, focusing on the sensations underneath all that and the feelings underneath all that. You're helping your client generate an awareness. Oh, this picture's from the website. I thought it was funny to go along with bottom up processing. Um, yeah, it's a guided exploration through the client's experience. Kind of, it's like here's the blocked energy, and you're just kind of up here, and you're kind of making your way. trying to find it. And then once you're there, you have titration where um, it's not just all released at once. It's a slow release of that compressed and blocked energy. And it takes time. It is a process. And Peter talks about pendulation. I think it's a term that he made up where essentially he talks about how humans are kind of constantly contracting and expanding and contracting and expanding. So in this titration process, you release a little bit and you expand. And then well, after being released, it's like you have more awareness and then you see that there's more there. And so like then you kind of contract a little bit and then you release and you expand. And so it's like this like long-term process pendulation, short-term this titration. Um, yeah, so as a counselor, how do you relate with your client? Well, you want to be gentle and non-judgmental. Your client is going to be experiencing some just weird stuff. Their body might start shaking. They're going to be crying. It's I mean, some people they've been avoiding this feeling for a long while. So it's like they got to feel comfortable you exploring this part of them. So you got to be very gentle and non-judgmental. Um, so in Nancy's story, as an example, this was Peter's, I think, first time with somatic experiencing. She was really anxious, and he was exploring that. She felt stuck in it, and then he kept kind of going deeper, and it got to the point where she actually froze. And he had this intuition to say, "Run! There's a tiger! Run!" And in her freezing, she was I mean, you can't see me moving my feet, but she was moving her feet like trying to run and then from there just kind of started shaking and then started crying and then it's like this it's almost like the energy just like boom 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 like a release of it. And so that's why it's good to be non-judgmental in that moment. But you don't have to really know the facts or the history of the trauma because it's really all about the sensations. So you're not really dialoguing like, what do you think about this? Or not really dialoguing, trying to get the history of their life. If maybe just a little bit, just to get to the point of knowing where to start exploring to get to that blocked energy. And it says, I mean, even says so on their website, it's best used as a method with an existing relationship. Like, um, so it's a modality. So it's a kind of an add-on. They say they kind of want people that are going to be training in somatic experiencing to kind of already have their own practice doing things. Populations best served. People with trauma, stress disorders, or trapped or locked up. Um, it can be used as an add-on. In this particular example, this gentleman, Mr. Levitt was, or Dr. Levitt was psychoanalyzing somebody, and they were so dissociated it's like they weren't even there anymore. He's like, how do you psychoanalyze somebody that's not even there? So he found somatic experiencing, and I, I think, or maybe he was already trained in it. I don't remember, but he offered that to the individual, and it was like they got reassociated, and then he continued the psychoanalytical treatment. So it's also for a counselor yourself, as you're with your client, you're going to run into moments that might be triggering or maybe you just get unregulated somehow emotionally and you can't dialogue yourself out of it. You're going to have to do some internal stuff. And that's what somatic experience excels at is, not for your own benefit, but so that you can self-regulate and be present with your client in the session. But it's a young theory and it still needs some further research to fully understand who's going to benefit the most from this treatment. I personally think it's for everybody, but there's definitely some population out there that is best served by this. So I think the first known study was in 2017. So over the course of 3 years, they studied 63 participants, and they all had PTSD. They had a study group and a waitlist group. And in the beginning of it, they both were the same, had the same sort of symptoms and everything. Then 15 weeks of somatic experiencing for the study group. And then they took another analysis and found that there was a significant difference of symptoms between the group. But then they went even further and had the waitlist group get somatic experiencing 15 weeks. And then they did another analysis, and there was not much of a difference in the symptoms experienced. So that was pretty validating for it. But like I said previously, that it came from this study that they do think that there needs to be some further research to discover more about the efficiency of this somatic experiencing. So yes, thank you. Thank you for watching this, and I really hope you learned something. I hope at the very least you got an interest now in somatic experiencing. I hope at the most you experience it yourself. Look forward to watching yours too. Thanks. Bye.